Everyone, it's Emily. Today's video is going to be a January book haul. I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I've been accumulating since my last haul. This video is a paid partnership with Disney Hyperion. I'm sharing this new book that actually just came out, and it is Unearthed by Amie, Kaufman, and Meagan. It's a new duology that they just came out January 9th. I've been on a huge sci-fi kick, and I've realized that I haven't read a lot of YA sci-fi, except maybe like same author actually. I've read Illuminate, and I did like the first book, so I wanted to read more of it. And this one has been described as like a Indiana Jones in space, which, yes, please. Basically, Earth intercepts a message from a long extinct alien, which seems to be the solution to environment issues. And the message is also intercepted by scavengers that decide to go and try to find treasures over there, including the two main characters that you're following. So I actually really want to read this as soon as possible, and I will obviously let you know if I think it's worth the read or not, but I'm really excited because it's also becoming a movie, and I always need to read the book before watching the movie. So I will be reading this as soon as possible, and I will be letting you know, but the cover is absolutely gorgeous. Next, I obviously had to place an order on Book Outlet whenever they had their Boxing Day sale, because they already have pretty cheap books, and then when they have a sale, it's like, yes, please. So, by the way, if you don't know, I do have a page on Book Outlet. I will be linking it down below so you can go and see all the books I've been hoarding from them. So, in the box, I got some of the books that I have been really dying to read, and you're going to notice a pattern here. I've been realizing that I tend to find books that I like from authors that I seem to like the writing of, and then I just never read anything else from them. I don't know if it's because I'm kind of scared that I'm not going to like them as much as the other book, but we're hoping that I'm actually going to like them as much. So I wanted to read this one. This is The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. I loved, and I mean love, I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. And it's one of those books that I need to do a video about books that I want to reread, and that one is like up there. And it's not going to be something that is for everyone, but I loved it, like 5 stars. I just, like, whenever someone tells me that they are looking for a new YA contemporary to read, this is the best one I've ever read, and it's like not even my usual genre. So I wanted to give the author another chance, because if I love that one so much, maybe this one is going to be just as good. Kind of scared it's not going to be as good, but you know, gotta take the risk. It's actually fairly short. There's like less than 300 pages, and it's obviously written pretty big. It is YA again. I don't know anything about it. I like to not know too much about books when I go into them, but if it's anywhere as good as I'll Give You the Sun, then I'm going to be loving it. And it was time that I read another book from her. If you have read this and you have read I'll Give You the Sun, is it as good? Is it still good? I feel like it just can't be as good or even better than I'll Give You the Sun. It just, you can't beat it. So still have high hopes, and I'm hoping I'm gonna like it. Same thing happened with this one, A Madness So Discreet by Mindy McGinnis. I loved The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. It actually made it to my best of 2017, so obviously loved it. And I thought, you know what, why not give the author another shot? And I realized afterwards that I do have another book from her that I've yet to read. This is not A Drop to Drink, which is a dystopian world, and I haven't read this yet, and I didn't even realize it was from the same author. So I have 2 books from her now to read, and this one I believe is happening in like it's a historical thriller, which is not something I think I've ever even read. But I have heard pretty good reviews, surprisingly, so I just wanted to read more from her, and I will just try anything at this point because I really loved all the messages in The Female of the Species, so I'm hoping it's gonna live up to my own hype at this point. I feel like everyone has been going crazy about Shannon Mcguire. I feel like everyone has been talking about Every Heart a Doorway, including me. I love that one. The 3rd book is coming out, or is actually might already be out now, and I need to read it. But when I saw Book Outlet had another book from her, I was like, I didn't even know she had other books. It's time for me to read it. Dusk or Dark or Down or Day by Shannon Mcguire. Again, I actually don't know anything about it, but it's fairly short once again. All her books seems to be pretty short. This one is less than 200 pages, and I'm planning to do like a 24-hour readathon with just myself, kind of vlog it, because I know people have been wanting me to do that. And I have like a pile of like shortish books to read, because this year my goal is to read big books, but at the same time I don't want to neglect a small one, so I think I'm going to be doing throughout the year those type of like 24-hour readathon and just read a bunch of the shorter books that I have just to balance things out. So I'm very happy to read this. I'm hoping it's going to be as good as the other ones, and I don't even want to know what it's about, because when something is 200 pages, I mean, it's too short. Like, anything is going to be something I don't want to know. So clearly you can see the pattern that I've been trying to read more books from the authors I've already read something from. I also finally picked up the second book in this, I believe it's a trilogy, The Lost Child of Lynchford by Paul Carnell. And I do have the first book. I thought it was here, but it's The Witches of Lynchford. And I did enjoy it, although I did think it was kind of short. This one is obviously just as short. It has like 132 pages. So it's also something I could include in my 24-hour readathon. But basically the story, you're following like modern time, like witches. There's someone that moves into a small town, and then there's like a big corporation that is trying to buy out all the small shops. Think like Walmart basically, but turns out that people on the board of Walmart are like evil type of thing. So I did enjoy myself, although I did prefer one of the characters that was kind of a like side character, the old woman. And she seems super intriguing, and she's like an old witch, so I wanted to read more about her, and I'm hoping that there might be more info in this one. This is the second book, and if I enjoy it, I will definitely be continuing with the third one. But once again, I don't want to read the back and know anything that's happening in here, because anything will be a spoiler when the book is like 100 pages. I also picked up the second book in the Magician trilogy by Lev Grossman, which, by the way, can we talk about that spine? It looks gorgeous. And this is the second book. Like I said, I do own the first one, which I'm hoping to read this month, but I don't think it's gonna happen, so maybe it's gonna happen in February. But I've been told so many times to not just read the first book because you're gonna hate the first book. So I was like, you know what, it's there, I have that gorgeous sale of 30% off, I might as well get it. So I did, and I'm hoping I'm gonna like it, because I want to read the books, hopefully like them, and then watch the TV show. So all I know is that it's old, kind of dark, depressing characters that learn magic. Obviously my jam. I included in my big books that I want to read in 2017, which is one of my reading challenge, like I mentioned this year, one of the books from this author. And I was receiving a few comments letting me know that it's not his best book and I should read this one. So whenever I saw it, I had to pick it up. And in general, I've been receiving comments that I need to read this one. So I'm happy I picked it up, and it is Seven Neves by, I always say that, it's the wrong name, Seven Neves by Neil Stevenson. And I know absolutely nothing about this book. I do like the cover, and I just know that it's sci-fi and like really highly raved about, and ooh, look at the inside. But I know nothing about it because I don't like to know too much about these books. And ooh, actually, now I'm really intrigued. But it's a pretty big book. There's like over 800 pages. But again, like to go into books not knowing too much. And it is sci-fi, and I mentioned that I've been in a sci-fi mood, which you can't see here, but you're going to see in a second. I've been buying a lot of sci-fi books and hoping I'm going to like this. This is, again, on a lot of lists of like best of in sci-fi, so hopefully I will enjoy it as much as people seem to. And then last but not least, I thought I had made more damage. I think I've been pretty reasonable this month. You're gonna see it. I didn't buy that many books, probably because it's so freaking cold that I don't want to get out of my house and even to shop for books. That says it all. I'm thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, and I don't know much about it except that it's kind of a like thriller, psychological thriller maybe, kind of horror-ish. And it's fairly short. Once again, there's 210 pages, and it's a type of book that people either love or hate. Like, that seems to be the response in general, but I'm really intrigued by it. And I mean, just that title, it just catches you, and like the fact that it's crossed once and then written again, and even like the back they say like, you will be scared but you won't know why. And I'm just starting again to be in the mood for those books. I'm not fully ready for like horror again, but I think this is just like dipping my toe because I totally overdid it during the fall. But hey, I need to go back at one point. So then I mentioned I have been in the mood for sci-fi, and I've picked up 4 during my library book sale, which I picked up some pretty good stuff. I've been fairly reasonable lately to buy like used books, but again, it's cold. I just don't want to go outside, so I don't buy a lot of them. 172 Hours on the Moon by Joan Arstad. And I did mention that I want to read more sci-fi that are YA, because a lot of the ones that I read are adult, and I wanted to try and see if some of them might be to my taste. And this one is about 3 teenagers that are sent, they win a contest, like a lottery with Nadza NASA to be sent on the moon, but then something happens and they're stuck, I'm assuming, for 172 hours on the moon, and no one is gonna come and help them, and it's literally all I know. But when I saw that cover, I just knew I needed to own this. It just totally caught my eye. Who knows what's really out there? I don't know, but I want to know, so I shall be reading you. I've been wanting to read some of her books because, again, it's one of the only female authors that I know that writes sci-fi, and she's also a woman of color, which there's not enough that I've raved about. And this one is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. And I believe her books are more like softer sci-fi, not so much hard sci-fi, kind of dystopian world, I believe. But I don't know too much, and I don't want to know too much. I kind of want to go into it pretty blind, but a few people that I like, I trust their reviews, seem to enjoy this one. There's like 300 pages, so it's a fairly normal size book. Don't have much to say about it because I don't want to know anything. I want my mind blown, you know? If you have any expectations, it kind of alter things. So I also saw that one used, and I just needed to get it because I'm planning to read the second book. It's on my 18 books to read in 2018, again, if you haven't seen it. So I might as well have the third one, right? Maybe. It's Morning Star by Pierce Brown, which is the third book in the Red Rising series. And I obviously don't know anything about the third book. I've been wanting to read a second book, which is Golden Sun, and then I will have this one once I am ready. The only thing is this one is the hardcover, and I have the hardcover for the first one and the paperback for the second one, which I know some people freak out when people do that. And I mean, I would prefer if they were all matching, but it's okay. It was cheap. And it was in pretty good condition too, so. Last sci-fi I got was Hark Right by Alan Steele, which is a hard sci-fi, which I haven't read a lot of. And I've been like picking some up, and I think this year is going to be the year to read a bunch of sci-fi, especially hard sci-fi. And this one is kind of hard-ish to explain. I just know that someone, I think it's an author, a sci-fi author that ends up kind of inclusive person, and he was trying to prepare people for like people escaping in space from Earth in the future type of thing. I don't know much, but again, don't like to know too much, but it seemed to have a pretty decent reviews, and I haven't read a lot of hard sci-fi, so. The next section is kind of a, like, I don't know why I'm including this here, people might not care, but I recently got some books that I had left at home, but I've been wanting to obviously hoard them, and then I think it's interesting to share them too. Actually, all of them are in French. There's only a couple, so don't worry, but I've been wanting to reread them, and the first one is Candide by Voltaire, although I do have an edition that has other stories. The first one, the one I'm interested in is 100 pages, and I know I have read it in the past, but I don't remember much about it. I did do a minor in French literature, so I've read a lot of French literature, especially like Balzac and like Voltaire and like these type of classics, so I have read that one, but I don't remember it at all, so. But now that I have it back on my shelf, which, by the way, I love these editions. Those covers are just gorgeous. So I need to read this again. There's definitely an English version for this, so it definitely doesn't matter me sharing it now. You can definitely get the English version. But the next book, I'm pretty sure it's never been translated, which is a shame because it's a brilliant idea. And I had read most of it, and I swear I finished, and I had like less than 100 pages left. But back in the day, I used to do that. Sometimes when school started, I would just like stop reading and not realize that I didn't finish the book. And the book is completely destroyed, by the way. And this is La part de l'autre by Éric Emmanuel Schmitt. And this is a book where each chapter is a back and forth between two different narratives. Basically, it's about Hitler and is life what really happened, and then what could have happened if he had been accepted into l'École des Beaux-Arts to go and be an artist. And I thought it was such a brilliant idea at the time, but again, I never finished it, and I want to do that eventually, hopefully. But again, I don't know how people will react about the fact that there's no English version of this. But if you do speak French, this could be a great idea, and I have been wanting to read some French book. Not that many, obviously my goal is to just practice my English anyway, so reading French is kind of not optimal for this, and at this point it's kind of weird actually to read in French, so still gonna happen hopefully at one point, but yes. And then I have a few more like old books from Balzac that I've read already, so I'm just not gonna share everything, but I just thought I would just throw it out there that I have re-accumulated some books. Actually, one of the things I got back were all my old Harry Potter in French. This is the copy. I have read I don't even know how many times, like 20 at least. And it's in pretty decent condition considering I've had this since 2000. So I've had this for like 18 years. So I have all of them, and I'm not planning on reading them in French anytime soon at least, but I just thought I would add them to my collection. They're pretty old, but... So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this haul. Let me know in the comment section what books you bought this month, and if you have read any of these, what you think of them, which one you think I should put higher on my TBR. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I will be putting on the screen some other videos that I've done that I recommend you check out. And don't forget to subscribe if it's not already done, because I don't want to miss any future videos. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.